More mixed signals are coming out of the Biden administration about our energy policy, as the president and his energy advisors say that they are pushing for more oil production in the United States, while at the same time they're trying to shove the Green New Deal down our throats. A reporter asked Biden if he's using the strategic petroleum reserves to help the Democrats in the midterms by artificially lowering the price of gas. We'll get into this because it's going to affect you. Join us. Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Rich, and in this episode of RPW Media, we're going to be discussing the endless confusion that comes out of this White House over its plans for our energy policy. Every country in the world treats their energy policy as a national security issue, except under the Biden administration. They've been playing games with our energy policy, and now it's about to get real serious because we're heading into the winter when people need to heat their homes. They can't do that if they can't afford to, or if there isn't enough product around. So we shouldn't be living in this kind of uncertainty because, remember, less than 2 years ago, we were energy independent. But this administration has turned that on its head, and it's doing it intentionally. Now, Biden's handlers allowed him to get loose for a few minutes on Wednesday afternoon to give some remarks on his plans to lower energy costs, none of which are going to work in the long term. On Wednesday, Biden announced the release of yet 15 million more barrels of oil from the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve. He's already sold over 7 million to the Chinese. Okay, now that oil is to be used for our military in time of war. So Biden is stealing oil from the military while making the world a more hostile place, from doing nothing from protecting Taiwan from China to making the U.S. look weak to practically igniting the war in Ukraine, pretty much so that this administration could blame every evil happening to us on Vladimir Putin. Remember the Putin price hike, even though gas prices in this country were going up long before he invaded Ukraine? And now this administration is bringing us to the brink of nuclear Armageddon. I think Helen Keller could see that Biden is using the oil reserves to help the Democrats in the midterm elections because he thinks people are stupid enough to fall for it. These people actually despise you. They think that you are stupid. Think of the contempt that they have for you, where they tell you lies each and every day, and they expect you to believe them. And if you don't believe them, well, who gives a damn, right? Because they got the misinformation fake news media that's going to support everything they say. The Democrats actually think that you, the American people, are too stupid to figure out that Joe Biden wants to manipulate the price at the pump temporarily, of course, until after the midterm elections by using that oil that is supposed to be used by our military in time of war. I mean, it's unforgivable what he's doing. So a reporter threw a question at Biden asking, what is your response to Republicans who are saying that you're only doing this SPR release to help the Democrats in the midterms? I mean, again, Helen Keller could see that everything this administration does is politically motivated, but he acts all magnanimous. Now, I understand that politicians, that they do things for political motivation, but this administration always goes directly to an anti-American agenda with woke, radical, leftist ideology every single time. In this video that you're about to watch, you'll see an angry Biden respond to the reporter saying, well, where have they been for the last 4 months? That's my response. Joe, for the last 4 months, the Republicans have been listening to their constituents tell them how expensive it is to buy food now and how expensive it is to buy gas for their cars. That's where they've been, Joe. Now, Biden has been using the reserves to keep the price of gas below $4 a gallon for the same purpose for some time now. It's to help the Democrats in the midterms. It's insulting how stupid he thinks we are. All right, let's give this a watch.
What is your response to Republicans who say you are only doing this SPR release to help Democrats in the midterms?
Where have they been the last 4 months? That's my response.
Is it politically motivated, sir? This
No,
move
it's not.
3 weeks before the midterms?
Well, of course not.
It makes sense. I've been doing this for how long now? It's not
Exactly.
politically motivated at all. It's motivated to make sure that I continue to...
Look, I can understand if it was politically motivated. It would be stupid. But if it's politically motivated, that makes sense. But he says it's not politically motivated, which means he's a moron because he's using strategic petroleum reserves to lower the price of gas. What all he has to do is allow them to turn the pumps back on, allow fracking to continue.
push on what I've been pushing on, and that is making sure there's enough oil that's being pumped buy the companies so that we have the ability to be able to produce enough gas that we need here at home, oil we need here at home, and at the same time, keep moving in the direction of providing for alternative energy. That's what I've been doing.
Okay, so try to follow this. So the President of the United States just said that he's releasing more oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserves to make sure that there is enough oil being pumped by the oil companies so that we have the ability to be able to produce enough oil that we need here at home. And at the same time, it's going to keep pushing for the Green New Deal. Does that make any sense? What does using the Strategic Petroleum Reserves oil have to do with helping the oil companies to pump more? That's what he just said. His whole energy policy has been to push for the Green New Deal that the Democrats couldn't get passed in Congress. So he's giving it to us by illegal executive order after illegal executive order, piece by piece. Did any of that make sense? Did it make sense to you? He said that he's using the Strategic Petroleum Reserve that's supposed to go to our military to see that the oil companies can pump enough oil here at home. I'm sorry, but what the hell does that mean? Then we had Biden's, we had his energy advisor, Amos Hochstein, who told CNN that it's better to limit production of oil, quote, to accelerate the transition. When he talks about the transition, of course, he's talking about the transition away from fossil fuels to the Green New Deal. That's what they're trying to do. They've been killing our energy policy, saying, oh, oil's bad. We got to get away from that and go with the green stuff, right? So they're pushing the Green New Deal before the Green New Deal is actually ready to take over for fossil fuels. So they're harming people. Now, the country just entered a recession in July. We had 2 straight quarters of negative GDP growth, despite the rewriting of the definition of a recession by this administration and all the left. Okay, now, inflation in the U.S. as of today is the highest that it's been in 40 years, thanks to the spending of this administration and congressional Democrats have done. All right? The other day, we did a story on Joe Biden where he tried to dilute his own culpability for the inflation in this country by saying that it's a global problem. Remember, he was standing there with an ice cream cone, and a reporter asked him if he was worried about the U.S. dollar, where it's at. Well, Biden said he wasn't worried about the U.S. dollar. He was worried about other countries because inflation is a global thing. A global inflation, even if it was global inflation, and we showed that there were a lot of countries that have lower inflation, much lower than the U.S. Inflation in the United States is not caused by a global inflation. We are responsible for inflation in our own country. And it's their policies, their spending that's doing it. The dirty little secret is that inflation can only be created by the government. I can't create inflation. You can't create inflation. Only the government can. When the government prints more money and doesn't have anything backing it, or doesn't have the goods or services extra added, produced to be able to be absorbed by that money, then the inflation happens. I mean, that's how inflation happens, okay? The price always goes up because when you add more money to the money supply, that more money is chasing the same limited items for sale. And you remember, we had a supply chain problem when they were spending all this money. At the same time, they were paying, if coming out of COVID, they were paying people more money to stay home and join the flat ass society than to actually get a job. So we didn't have products on the shelves. Remember, we were running out of everything because everybody had all this more money and they were buying everything up. The scarcer things get, the more inflation rises. So we have Hochstein saying on CNN's New Day that the Biden administration had, quote, been clear that we want to see the U.S. industry increase oil production. But he said that it was important to limit the production of oil to make sure that we're in a better footing to accelerate the transition to green energy, obviously. So they're doing another 1984 newspeak on us, where they're saying, oh, no, we're pushing to increase oil production, while at the same time we're pushing for green energy. And green energy is at least in the way that this administration has been introducing it to us, it's to push out fossil fuels, even before green energy system works. And the administration and their Praetorian Guard and the fake news media, they're going to push this line for the next several news cycles because that's what Marxists do. They repeat. And then after a while, it's so permeated in the lexicon that they turn around a couple of weeks later and they go, well, geez, you didn't know that? What are you, an idiot? You know, I think the only thing that we can do to stop this, and we can stop this, we can at least stop the hemorrhaging of the damage that this administration and the Democrats are doing. The only thing we can do is to save the rest of the country is a massive red wave in a couple of weeks at the midterms. If we go out and vote Republican, a lot of this garbage will end. Not all of it, but the Congress will not continue to pass. Republicans will not continue to pass outrageous spending bills that, though, may help, Democrat constituents in the short term, but in the long term, it's killing us. Okay, that's it. Thanks a lot. Thanks for being with us, and we will see you in the next one.
Yeah.